This course is designed to support beginning readers as they use knowledge that every syllable must have a vowel sound in order to determine the number of syllables in a printed word. This course builds on a previous course on decoding regularly spelled one-syllable words under Reading Foundational Skills for first grade that taught students about open and closed syllables. A goal of beginning reading instruction is to help students quickly notice larger parts of longer words. Through systematic, focused instruction on flexible use of common syllable patterns, students develop important strategies for reading longer words. In Syllable Types, a strategy for reading multi-syllabic words by Mary Knight McKenna, the research shows that knowing syllable types helps struggling readers to decode long words. It also shows that teaching syllable types belongs in a comprehensive literacy program for English language learners who are at risk for reading problems, and that teacher knowledge of syllable types is needed for teachers to effectively teach reading. Skilled readers must be able to recognize multi-letter patterns such as syllables, affixes, and phonograms, chunk or break words into smaller pieces as they perceive a word, and use knowledge of common patterns found in other words. In this course, students will begin to learn how to segment words into syllables by learning that spoken syllables are organized around a vowel sound. They will also learn that when a vowel in a syllable is spoken, the mouth opens and the jaw drops. One method to help teach students to count syllables is to have students put a hand under their chin and feel the number of times the jaw drops for a vowel sound. The learning objective for this course is that readers will be able to count the number of vowels in a printed word to determine how many syllables it has. The student objective is that students will be able to determine the number of syllables in a word by counting the vowel sounds. The focus standard is Reading Foundational Skills, First Grade Phonics and Word Recognition 3D, which is to use knowledge that every syllable must have a vowel sound to determine the number of syllables in a printed word. Another standard that is addressed is Reading Foundational Skills 1-4, Read with sufficient accuracy and fluency to support comprehension. Allow 30 minutes for the first lesson and then 5 to 10 minutes for follow-up practice on subsequent days as needed. Students need to be able to identify and know the difference between vowels and consonants. Before teaching this lesson, spend time as a class and in small groups sorting letter cards into piles of consonants and vowels until students can quickly identify consonants and vowels. Another suggestion is to provide students with a short page of letters and teach them to put a small pencil dot under vowels. Also, students need to know that vowels that say their sound make a short sound, and vowels that say their name make a long sound. For the lesson, one syllable sorting mat and one copy of the syllable sorting word cards are needed per partnership. Each partnership will need a pair of scissors for quickly cutting apart the word cards. For independent practice, each student will need a copy of the syllable counting page. The lesson in this model is based on the gradual release model as described in detail in the book Better Learning Through Structured Teaching by Douglas Fisher and Nancy Frey. In the teacher as model phase, the lesson's purpose and goals are clearly established and the teacher models his or her own thinking through direct explanations, modeling, and thinking aloud as the students observe and listen. In the guided instruction phase, students begin to take on more of the learning responsibility through carefully chosen activities, while the teacher observes and scaffolds as needed with questions, prompts, and cues. In the collaborative learning phase, students use language skills to practice and apply their learning while interacting with their peers. In the independent learning phase, students work independently to practice applying skills and information and solidify understanding. The authors write that it is through this process of gradually assuming more and more responsibility for their learning that students become competent, independent learners. Additional brief activities to be completed on subsequent days after the lesson are suggested to help students practice and reinforce their understanding of using vowel sounds to determine the number of syllables. The follow-up activities should be spread out over several days. They are designed to be completed in a small strategy or guided reading group. The additional activities are explained after the lesson. The focused instruction phase of the lesson is the teacher's opportunity to model his or her thinking and share the purpose of the new concept. Fisher and Frey write that it is important to find your authentic voice when you think aloud. This approach requires a lot of I statements, which can feel contrived when you first begin. I statements make expert thinking transparent. You might say to your students, as readers, we are going to need to know how to break apart some really big words into smaller chunks so that we can read them more easily. Sometimes, though, we aren't sure how to go about dividing up these big words. Today we are going to discover how we can break apart words into easier to read chunks or syllables. Model this work by showing students the word volcano. If I try to stretch out all the sounds in this big word, it is hard to put them back together to figure out the whole word. Model how a beginning reader might do this letter by letter, slowly and a little choppy, and struggle to recode the word when done. Something that helps us as readers is to learn how to break apart words into smaller word chunks that we call syllables. Show how you would break the word apart into syllables by underlining the word parts on the board. Demonstrate how to read the word in syllable parts instead of the isolated sounds as before. In the guided instruction phase, the teacher scaffolds a learner with questions, prompts, and cues. Have the words spoken, frozen, napkin, fantastic, and instrument written out on the whiteboard or chart paper. Tell the students you are going to tell them each word, and they are going to help you figure out how many syllables the word has. Say the word spoken. Demonstrate how to put your hand flat underneath your chin to feel your jaw drop with each syllable. Say the word again and have students help you count on their fingers each syllable as you say it, with your hand underneath your chin. You should say spo as they show with their fingers and count 1, and then you should say ken as they show 2 with their fingers. Finally, underline each of the 2-syllable parts, spo and ken. Continue with the other words you have written out. Say each word and put your hand underneath your chin as you say it. Have the students count with their fingers the number of syllables they heard, or the number of times they saw your jaw drop. Underline the syllables in the word to show how the word is broken into parts. Put a dot under each of the vowels. This was introduced in the previous course for Reading Foundational Skills 1, 3B. Have students help you count the vowels and syllables in each word. Guide students toward the realization that each syllable has a vowel in it, and finding the vowels can help you know how many syllables a word should be broken into. Please note, use only the provided word list in the resource section with this lesson and for follow-up practice. This list contains only open and closed syllable words for controlled practice until further instruction is provided for students to learn more about how vowels can work together in vowel teams and silent E syllable types. Write the following words on the board: chicken, 100, and pumpkin. Tell students at this time they are going to see if they can help you figure out how many syllables the word has without you telling them what the word is. Call on students to help you find and put a dot under the vowels in the first word. Then call on someone to count how many vowels they see and tell you how many syllables the word has. If prompts are needed to help scaffold a student or students, prompts can be phrased as statements or questions, but the teacher should not assume so much responsibility as to tell the student what information is missing. Instead, the prompt is designed to guide students' thinking. The next phase is the collaborative learning phase. Give each partnership a sorting mat, a copy of the word sort page, and a pair of scissors. Model how to cut one word off at a time, dot the vowels, and place in the correct column of the syllable sorting mat. Have students work with their partner to sort word cards and monitor and guide. The collaborative phase is considered an important part of the gradual release of responsibility model. A significant body of evidence suggests that regardless of the subject matter or content area, students learn more and retain information longer when they work in small groups. Tell students that now they are going to try counting syllables on their own. Give each student a copy of the syllable counting page in the resource section. Instruct them to first put a dot under the vowels in each word, and then count the number of vowels to determine the number of syllables in each word. Monitor students as they work on this activity. Pull small groups of students if they need further guided instruction. As students engage in independent learning, the teacher's role is to notice ongoing performance and provide feedback. After independent practice, have students come back to the meeting area to share what they have learned about syllables today. As you teach syllable concepts, co-construct an anchor chart together to post in the room. Add to the chart as students learn more about syllables. Charts created with your students make it more meaningful and therefore something that students are more likely to refer back to when needed. Pick from the following activities to do whole group, small group, or individually as needed. Provide words written out on cards from the word list in the resources provided with this course for students to sort independently on the syllable sorting mat. As a gross motor activity, write a word on the whiteboard from the word list. Have students hop for each syllable they see in the word. Example, if the word was contest, students would hop 2 times since the word has 2 syllables. Use the bingo board in the resource packet. Call out 1, 2, or 3 and have students mark off a word with the correct number of syllables on their bingo board. For additional information, please see the following resources. 6 Syllable Types, an article available on readingrockets.com by Louisa Moats and Carol Toman. Syllable Types, a strategy for reading multi-syllabic words by Mary Knight McKenna. And for additional information on the framework for the gradual release of responsibility model, please see Better Learning Through Structured Teaching by Douglas Fisher and Nancy Frey.